I think there's a very interesting decision to make because they can do really, really well. So I don't know the answer yet. I think it's pretty imminent, and I think we'll find out this week.
How about everyone else? Is everyone else coming back, do you expect, or there's just so much flux right
Yeah, there's a
now?
lot of flux. I mean, the seniors that were celebrated on Senior Day were seniors, so you can start there, and then it 30 years of coaching, never seen anything like it. It's incredible. But yeah, that's the nature of the sport right now, and the timing. I mean, it's everything's imminent. Like it's really there's a lot going on. We got a lot of shuffling going on. Yeah.
Yeah, Katie, we seem to be strong at the bigs and point and the guards this season, but
Yeah.
the wings with Destiny going, the only
Yeah.
other two we had, Chiso and MJ, were hurt
Yeah.
pretty much all
Yeah.
year. Do you think both of them are coming back, and you have anything in mind for the future with that?
Well, actually, MJ is more of a wing. Chiso is more of a big. Chiso's injury is pretty significant, and so, yeah. I mean, I think Jasmine Roberts is what we consider a wing, and I like her. I think she's pretty good. And Zaria Spearman really wants to transition a little bit more to the wing. So,
Stretch three.
we'll be working on that in the off season. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about Jasmine Roberts and her performance in the tournament?
Yeah, I saw that graphic about her stats in the tournament run. I was like, oh my God, of course she was all region. You know what I mean? It was an incredible performance, great matchups. I do think you saw things like teams making choices about who they were putting their best defender on, and a couple teams, I think, made the wrong choice and gave us some matchups with Jazz that we really liked and really, really attacked. But I think it's a compliment to some of the other players, too, that were, getting face guarded or getting, tried to shut down. And it gave us a really – because Jazz's skill set, like Destiny's, is so versatile. If we felt Jazz had a matchup in the paint, depending on who they had on her, we could put her there. And when we felt like she had, they were giving her a shot, she could hit it. So she just displayed her talents, and we took advantage of it for sure.
Coach, this was the team that, obviously made so much history. Just
Right.
What about this group was so special?
When they had an opportunity, they kind of kicked the door down, and we've had other teams that might have been ranked higher. Obviously, a lot of teams that have been ranked higher than this team. We only got ranked in the last poll. Is that correct? Which is great. We've had top 5 teams, matchups or where we played, or, get sent all the way to Gonzaga one year we've just had some, when we had great teams, they weren't hosting that, so a lot of things happen. So it's all about matchups. But this particular team, there was an opportunity. If there's a little crack, they were like, let's kick it open. And that's why I'm so happy for them, because they were not intimidated by any matchup, and they just went for it. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. It was fun.
And why do you think this team had such great success matchup-wise against these, higher-seeded teams throughout the tournament?
Like I said, I don't think they were just, teams played a lot of man-to-man, okay? And they couldn't guard every one of our positions. They just couldn't. And sometimes, just because of who we drew, they didn't have 5 elite defenders. They just didn't. They were high-scoring offensive teams that we drew until we ran into LSU, and then they could really defend almost every spot, and that frustrated us. But prior to that, the matchups just they were really good offensive teams. We thought our defense was going to win that matchup, and then we thought offensively we might actually be able to score more than our average, and we were able to.
Katie, how does your job change, with all of this stuff?
Yeah.
You're like recruiting. Coach L compared it to speed dating, Match.com.
Right.
He said you used to you could recruit, he said, not that I've ever been on Match.com.
I was going to say,
He wanted to clarify.
he's dancing, and he's on Match.com. We got issues now. I got to talk to him.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to Liz first.
Yeah, he did clarify that, can I just say one funny thing about the Match.com?
Yeah.
Liz sent me a text that said, I just told Jim that if he ever goes on Match.com, not to let Michelle Kaufman write the bio, because I wrote some story about him mentioning that he was limping, that he has no hair, that he looks really old, and she said, if he ever goes on Match.com when I kick the bucket, you're not writing the bio.
Hey, under promise and over deliver, Michelle. That's a good one.
Match.com. Anyway, no, but the idea that, recruiting used to be, you got to know athletes as a freshman and then as a sophomore, and you evaluated them over a stretch of time. Now you're evaluating players within hours. I mean, how has your job changed with the whole transfer portal?
I think the thing that both Jim and I have, though, is a long career with great relationships, not just with players, but with their families, their coaches, the AAU coaches. And I think we have an advantage there because we're known and they know how we've treated our players. And so if there's a random question, like, just for example, there's one particular person and we're talking to her and I said, we got to know each other. Like, let's do 60 degrees of separation. By the end of the conversation, we had this mutual, and she's like, well, by the way, this particular person said that you're awesome and she always wanted a player to play for you, like that. So I'm like, wow, because that went back a while, right? But that particular coach who just happened to be a 6 degree of separation. And so I think in that sense, you're glad that you have like a body of work as a coach in terms of player relationships, because when it is quick like that, someone can speak to your character. It's pretty necessary and it's a big impact.
How busy have you been? I mean, so.
Very.
Yeah, I mean, the season ended and you just immediately had to dive into this. You didn't have there was no.
No, I did sneak off. I did not go to the women's Final Four for the first time in my career, probably, because I would have had to have been there on Wednesday for a committee, and we landed Monday at like 7:30, and I just couldn't do it. But I did take those that weekend. Yeah, and it allows me to be as busy as I'm being right now. Had I not done that, I don't know where I'd be right now. I really needed it. It's 30 years. I really needed it.
Any other questions?
Coach, your team has been eliminated by the national champion in the past couple of years.
Right.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that, and do you use that for motivation?
Yeah, and being honest, when we were at South Carolina and they were clearly the best team in the country last year, clearly, and you think, well, that's a tough draw, But this year, Indiana could have won it. They could have won it. I mean, they were a legit number 1 seed, and they had only, so the difference in that is we beat the 1 this year, on their home court. In women's basketball, when you do that, it is a lot different being in the Sweet 16 when you've done that. And I don't think the average fan knows the difference there. You're in a tournament, it's supposed to be neutral sites, all this other stuff, and you get put, boom, at South Carolina, boom, at Indiana. So we're a heck of a lot closer because we proved that formula we can overcome. I don't want to be an 8-9 seed next year, right? You got to avoid that. But at some point, if you're a 7, if you're a 6, or you host, and the goal is to host. But I'm telling you, it's a very different feel. So we played LSU. I thought we made LSU play bad enough to beat them, but Miami didn't play as well as we needed to. But we know that formula too. We can take someone down on a neutral court with our defense.